Hey ladies, it's Amanda. Welcome to the Feel Amazing Naked podcast. This is a show where we dig deep, get honest, and talk about all the unsexy steps it takes to meet your goals. Whether you want to get fit, eat healthier, make more money, start a business, or any other results you desire in your life. Most of all, this podcast is for women who are ready to feel amazing naked on the outside and the inside. So ladies, time to take it off. Welcome to the Feel Amazing Naked podcast, ladies. I'm so excited you're here, and I want to give a little context to today's episode. I did a 4-part series that I'm going to be sharing on the podcast over the next few weeks, all with regard to self-prioritization and breaking through some of the beliefs we have around putting our needs and our wants first while we still do all the things that are required of us inside our life. So I want to give this context because they were done on Instagram and Facebook Lives. So you might hear me refer to the comments or the chat box or people asking questions live. That is why that's happening. We're just resharing the trainings because they were so powerful and we got so many great pieces of feedback from ladies of the stories I shared and some of the aha moments inside of them. So I hope you enjoy today's episode. And without further ado, here we go. So good morning. Welcome as you tune in. I am excited you are here because I'm going to be talking about something that is not traditional thinking. Quite honestly, it goes against some of the teachings or the sayings or the mantras that exist out inside of the coaching space, inside of the self-care discussion. I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about this. In fact, if you go back to the beginning of my podcast, I actually recorded an episode about this very topic. And since then, I've really reframed some of my thinking around why this topic, why this analogy is failing us specifically. So today I'm going to be talking about the oxygen mask mindset or the oxygen mask analogy. And if you don't know what that is, I will talk about what it is just to make sure that you get it and you've heard of it. But I'm going to be talking about what it is. I'm going to be talking about why it does not serve us, which is what most popular people are not saying, that are talking about self-care and talking about creating space for ourselves. And I'm going to talk to you about what to do instead. So let me paint you a picture first about the analogy so you get the full picture. So the idea, right, this analogy comes if you've ever rode on a plane. But it's when you're getting ready to take off on an airplane and the flight attendants are going over all their safety protocols. And as they begin to talk about that, one of the things they say, in the event of an emergency, these oxygen masks are going to fall down from the ceiling. Please be mindful of them. And one of the last things they say is if you're traveling with others that need your support, basically put your oxygen mask on first, right, before you serve somebody else. So a couple key things here. If there is a crisis, if something goes drastically wrong, then go ahead and serve yourself first and then take care of everybody else, right? So I'm going to talk about why that's relevant in just a second. So I have heard this too. And in the beginning stages of maybe coaching or just when I was learning more about why I was struggling in my life so much, and that's because I wasn't nurturing myself and taking care of my needs, I kind of thought like, yes, that makes sense. And then I started digging into it more. I'm like, everybody's saying that, but there is something inherently wrong with this conversation that we're not really looking at. And so if we take a little deeper dive today, we're going to see why talking about this and saying this out there isn't actually serving us as ladies, as men too. There is a little bit more to the story than just, hey, it's simple. Put your oxygen mask first. Yay. It's a crisis. Go ahead. Serve yourself. What it presupposes is that you have to have a crisis in order for you to finally have a realization that you have to put your own needs first. On the surface, this is kind of what it's saying is that literally, like, if your life's about to end and you need oxygen, go ahead and put that oxygen mask on. And this is actually part of the problem. I think if you all took a look at your own lives, unless you've been doing a lot of work around this, this might be what happens to you. You don't start actually creating space in your life for your own needs, for you to be a priority until something falls out from the bottom, right? Until the bottom falls out. So that could look like all of a sudden you are just like, I don't get sleep. Like I have this up, at 2 a.m. and I'm restless all night and I'm not getting sleep and I'm completely exhausted all the time, right? Or it might be that you go to the doctor and you get like a critical diagnosis around your health. It could be that you've experienced a traumatic amount of weight gain for yourself and you're like, how did I get here? Right? And you haven't been nurturing yourself. You haven't been putting your oxygen mask on. So all of a sudden you're in crisis mode. It could be that, wow, your business has really grown over the years and you're hitting these amazing revenue numbers and you feel like junk. And you're like, I don't want to keep this business going because I feel like junk. And so this is where the oxygen mask mindset fails us, is it says only then, only when and if there is a crisis, only when and if you feel like crap, should you go ahead and care for yourself. And this is why it's not serving us. And this is why I want to help you think differently about it. So have you ever thought of it that way? But it's basically saying, our culture right now says, go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. As a whole, we don't take time to care for ourselves until our bodies are saying like, hey, yes, it's time. They're screaming at us. They're like giving us all these signs, right? And these signs, if you choose to see them, are pointing arrows towards this message of like, pour into yourself every day. Pour into yourself, not when there's a crisis that arises, but pour into yourself every single day so that you have preventative measures that help you take control of how you want to feel in your life. So if we ignore the signs like exhaustion, headaches, a lack of sleep, maybe feelings of anxiousness, maybe not finding joy in the business we spent years building, right? Those things slowly creep in and we realize that in fact, if we just try to reach for the oxygen mask right now, it's not going to last us a long time, right? What will help us instead? Well, it's a daily practice, a weekly practice, a monthly practice of caring for ourselves. And there is so many struggles that come with that. So many stories that we play out inside our head of like, I don't have the time to take care of myself. Other people's needs are first. I have to take care of my family, or I have so many things to do. There's just no time for me. And for the most part, the models of taking care for ourselves don't exist inside of corporate structure or even in entrepreneurship if you're not intentional around it. So what to do instead is, instead of reaching for that oxygen mask, the key is actually making space for it every single day and every single week of your life so that you don't end up in crisis of some capacity. Really, at its like most simple form, it takes one decision. You can have all these stories that you say out loud. We call them reasons, excuses, right? All these things playing out in your mind of why you can't. Why you're just going to keep doing what you've always been doing, even though you're ignoring the things that your body's telling you, even though you're ignoring the fact that you maybe don't feel happy in your life. You keep checking the boxes, like I mentioned in Monday's training. If you haven't listened to that, I would, invite you to go back. And you just spend chronic time avoiding. I hear this from women a lot. They're like, I had all these signs in my life that I wasn't making space for myself, but it just was easier to avoid and ignore than to actually show up and do the work. So it takes one thing, and that is a decision. It takes a decision to take ownership for how you want to feel in your life and what kind of results that you want. And how do we get to feeling different in our life? It's not like one giant bite to eat the whole elephant. It's like we hear, it's baby steps, right? It's one rung of the ladder that we take at a time until we climb to the top of the building. But sometimes it feels overwhelming. We're like, wow, I don't like where I'm at right now. And I'm really struggling to see a future over there to get there. Like, I kind of see the future, but I'm not sure. This area in between looks really gray. And so all we do is we go back and we look at the past and we try to collect evidence for all the reasons that it's impossible for us to feel different in our life, which is not the case. It takes one decision, a decision, to begin to shift that. And so while this notion of oxygen mask mindset seems like great at, the surface, when we dig in deeper, it presupposes that a crisis has to happen for us to finally nurture yourself. And what if you decided that didn't have to be your life? What if you decided that actually I'm going to start taking baby steps? What if you decided that it doesn't have to be an hour a day? It could start with 5 minutes. It could start with 10. But when you start to breathe in that oxygen daily, right? And I'm using that as a metaphor for like taking care of yourself. And self-care is like so weirdly used all the time. Because for me, like this notion is simple. It's getting good rest. It's fueling your bodies with good foods. It's making space for movement. It's reading a freaking good book. It's sitting in the sunshine in your backyard. It's doing the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. That's what breathing in the oxygen is every day. And the more you allow yourself to feel that, the more you can expand into greater happiness. You can expand into greater fulfillment. And then the less you begin to settle for anything less than that. I meet a lot of women who are going through the motions because they're holding on to all these old stories of it's better to give than receive. I have to take care of everyone else first, or I'm a bad woman or a bad mom. These feelings of guilt and shame and frustration and doubt. It's something that they indulge in consistently because they keep putting off spending time working on themselves. Think about a year from now. A year from now, if you made the decision right now, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to start creating this space, right? Life would look entirely different. Maybe you would have less anxiety. Maybe you would be more confident. Maybe you would feel more fit. Maybe you would be building a business of your dreams. Maybe you would have consistent morning and evening routines. Maybe you'd be a more present mother. Taking care of yourself by nature impacts everybody around you, because when you feel better, you do better. You do better in every single relationship and role and hat that you wear in your own life. So if you're stuck in the belief that you don't deserve to care for yourself, that it takes too much work, that it'll slow you down, that you don't have the time, what I want you to do is just like spend some time with people that do value that. Be around them. Be around them and see how it feels different. Be around them and see how they set boundaries. Be around them and notice how it almost gives you the permission to start taking action. And if you don't have those people in your life, I would also urge you to maybe reevaluate who you're spending time with. Because valuing yourself is of the highest priority from my perspective, because it bleeds into everything that you do. So if you have questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear, how did that resonate with you? What questions do you have? But really just looking at your observations of how are you breathing life into yourself? Is it only when a crisis happens, or is it a daily trickle, right, of deep breath that you're taking? I hope today's episode spoke right to your heart, and it's really about making yourself a priority without exception. No matter if you have a busy schedule, you have a busy life, you run a business, you work corporate, you stay at home with your kids, no matter what stories are wagering in your mind, the greatest way to feeling more energy and increasing your productivity and feeling just freaking awesome in your life is making space for yourself. And I want you to continue to do that inside of a free training that I am just kicking off. You can visit feelamazingnaked.com/more energy. And inside this free training, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to teach you how to have more energy, how to reduce the overwhelm that's taking place with all the things on your lists, and still be able to do all the things you desire with yourself at the top of your priority list. So again, come join my free masterclass at feelamazingnaked.com/more energy.